Hi everyone, thanks for tuning in. Hope you're all doing well. Where I live, we haven't been hit too bad really, considering what a lot of poor people have with this storm. Where I've been able to work. I worked Thursday, what is it, Friday? Yeah, worked Friday, so that's today, and also Thursday yesterday. Managed to get some stuff done. Today I was doing gutter clears, hence why I thought I'd do today's live about service that I had on my gutter vac at Spinner Clean, because the gutter vac I've got's an Industrial 85. So that's really good, and I noticed the difference of it today. So definitely glad I had that done. But something happened to me last week as well, which made me go for doing a service. Hi, Ched. Cheers, bud. Hope you're all right, mate. So yeah, it prompted me to go down and book it in with Spinner Clean. Really, I had a motor burn out on me, so I put it in for repair, but they classed it as a service and put a new motor in and did a few other things, which I'll talk about, and it made a world of difference. So what I'm going to do now is every year book it in for a service for the head unit, just to make sure it's all tip top before the old gutter vac season hits in, because you do rely on it, and it's like a car, isn't it? Every time you turn the key, you never think, thank God for that. It's only when it doesn't work properly you start cursing then, and then realise how much you do need these things. Hi Mark, you all right, mate? So yeah, I hope you've all had a good week. You've been able to work despite the weather, and you're not in one of the areas where everyone's been really affected just by the power of Mother Nature, really. So yeah, I'm thankful where I live. So we'll go on then to the title of today, the gutter vac. Like I said, service, touched on that, and why I'm going to do it every year, and why I think it's definitely worth doing. Oh yes, cheers, Ched. Thanks for reminding us. So I just had a comment come in. Try and find it for you. There are, Ched saying, don't forget to get your generator serviced as well. Spinner Clean do that. It's something I tend to try and do myself, reading instructions, but I'm not very mechanically minded, to be honest. But yeah, I think definitely I'm going to look after my generator as well, because I use that all the time when I'm using me gutter vac. Always use a generator. So yeah, don't abuse it. Glad to hear, Mark. Yep, good here. Been able to carry on working in the rain. Yeah, I did Thursday. Me and the kids, we had full waterproofs on, out working in it. Luckily by the afternoon it died down, so I took my waterproof trousers off, because it does me head in having too many layers, because you sort of work hard and fast, don't you? And you start to get a bit of a sweat on and feel too hot. But you know as well, if you're in the middle of a job and then it starts to rain, you can't be bothered to go and get your waterproofs on, because your head's just in the game and you've got your blinkers on. But you know, by the time you finish the job, you're going to be drenched and you're not even going to put your waterproofs on, because there's no point. But yeah, Thursday we put them on before I even left the house, and I kept them on well into the afternoon. But you got to get out there and get on with it, don't you? You don't know whether to lose a couple of days when there's bad weather, like the storms come in, because you know the storms could blow over 2 or 3 days, and 2 or 3 days loss of work is a lot, really, when you're just sort of like a small, you know what I mean, self-employed guy, and off you go. It's a big hit, especially when you know things could go wrong with your van, and you're trying to build the pot up to cover those eventualities. Like on the back of my head was getting my gutter vac serviced. So that's something I knew I had to do. I had to get with that comment. Oh, sorry. And yeah, anyway, moving on. I'll try and find this one, Spinner Clean. I know a lot of people have got gutter vacs from different companies like GVS and so on, but I brought mine from Spinner Clean. I've got the Industrial 85, the generator. As you probably realise from some of the other live I did, I've got the is it 8 poles? 4, 6, yeah, 8 of the Carbon Elite poles. So I went all out, got a loan, got the whole shebang, really. And yeah, if you've outsourced and spent that much sort of money to get a good gutter vac going, it makes sense really that you should put it in annually for a service, or like the generator as well, like Ched was saying, because you've spent a lot of money on these products. So really you want them tickety-boo and running good for you so you can earn that money back. So it's important. I'll just go into the search bar up here for you and I'll type in service. So what I went in for, well, it wasn't really, it was in for a repair because I rang up. You see here on the top left, just above me, Skyvac head service. That's basically what Spinner Clean charged me for. So it's £108. But when I rang them up the day where I was using my gutter vac last week, what happened is one of my motors just burnt out. And there's a puff of smoke. So I guess that's what had happened. And I turned that motor off, but I had 2 motors going. So I managed to work and get through 3 or 4 gutter clears that day, thankfully, to get me work done. And during the day, I'd also rang up Spinner Clean. So I got it booked in for the Wednesday that's just gone. And I took the day off work, drove up there to see them. And Dan, who's in the photograph above me, is the guy that serviced my head unit for me. But from speaking to him anyway, I told him I think the motor's just gone. I'd also told him me power mix on there where you can get an extra little boost when you need that bit of power. Wasn't working fully, so I'd been thinking prior to going up there, maybe it was stuck on full power, and that's why my motor's overburnt. So he stripped that down, had a look at me, and you'll see in the photo in front of Dan, there's 2 red buttons and a white button. They're your on-off switches. And when you turn them on, the red ones, there's normally a little light glows up behind it. Mine hadn't been on for probably half a year or more. So I explained that to him. And then basically what they've done is put a new motor in, which you'll see on here on the website. They're £126. They'd put some secondhand for me, new switches in there, so they didn't charge me for that. And he also cleaned up inside and got the power mixer working. There's a bit of like mud stuck in there somewhere. And it wasn't stuck on full power, but that now works. So, and they just charged me for what they would for a service. So when you think that I think that's really good. I wasn't expecting that. I thought it was going to be probably charged as a service, and then on top of that, the parts like the motor and all that kind of stuff. So I was expecting a lot more. So for me, yeah, the service was really good. Can't knock it. Top-notch service. I wasn't there long neither. The problem is when you go on these, I mean, I was well looked after. As soon as I walked in, politely greeted, sat down, cup of tea come out straight away for me really quick while they're speaking to Dan. Dan come out and spoke to me, took away the head of me gutter vac. While he's doing that, I just took me brew into their showroom. So I was like a kid going back to a toy shop. So I had a good walk around there looking at everything. And then I decided to buy a couple of bits of upgrades for me gutter vac. So I brought a reinforced hose because I've got the original hose that come with mine, which is plastic. It kinks quite easy because it's now worn and old. So I replaced that one and I brought a bag for it to go in as well. And today, oh, brilliant. Noticed the difference massively. And obviously the difference in my gutter vac today, I noticed after having a service as well, that's improved. So I'm really chuffed. That's why I'd recommend to everyone, get your gutter vacs, whoever you bought them off, get them serviced annually as well, because you've spent a lot of money on them. So really, you need to look after them. I know we all clean them, look after them that way, but I think it's good to have like a once over, an MOT. And I'm definitely going to do it for my generator now because you do rely on them. I've used my generator. We've done 4 gutter cleans I've done today, and one of them was fascia soffits and gutters as well. And the last one, I was pretty much doing it in the dark because a couple of jobs got them gutter leaf guards. So I had to take them off, clean the inside, and then place them back in as well. So that took us a bit of time. And on one of the ones where we thought it was going to be all right, I couldn't even get my little finger here in the gap between the tiles and the gutter itself. So I managed to get around that one. What I did was 4 of me gutter poles were going out together. And then I had a crevice tool on the end and I was forcing that down, and I was doing that from a ladder so I could see what I was doing to get the moss out. And that's the way I had to get around that one. I was thinking about getting on the roof, but the pitch of the roof actually was probably a bit too too much really for me anyway. I'm not a roofer. I haven't got all the safety kit, and the gusts were starting to pick up. And sometimes you've probably been there. I've done it a couple of times where getting on the roof's all right. It's getting off the roof back onto your ladder. So I decided, no, if I had to, I'd do it. But I managed to find a way to prevent me from doing that. And it just took me a bit longer, that's all. But we got there in the end, and I'm happy. So, yeah. Going back to the pages on here then, like I said, they do a head service. That's what I was charged for. But I don't know where the parts are now. If I just type motor in the top. Bear with me. Here we go. We've got Skyvac Atom, then the commercial 75 and the industrial 85, which is what I've got. And you'll see there it's £126 with VAT just for the motor, and that's what they replaced in the head unit. And I got charged obviously £108 for the for the service. Plus they did the little bits for me as well. So what do you get in the service anyway? We'll go back to that one and we'll have a look. There is a list when you look on the page of what it covers. I mean, I had looked at these before, but I just thought this needs repairing. And I said to Dan, look, just whatever's wrong with it, just fix it, please. So we'll go on to the service for the head service that I'm definitely going to go in every year. So there we are, at £108. Treat your hard work and Skyvac head to an MOT. Take good look at your vac head, give it the service it deserves so you can get on with all your daily cleaning tasks. You probably already know they're based in Northampton, so that was 1 hour, 38-minute drive for me. And then to get back home, you can do a service where you post it out to them and it gets posted back to you. But I just wanted to go in there, speak to them and have a look around myself. It's a day off work, innit? So what do they cover then? Obviously, it gives you a long list here. So just above my head, there we are. You get an external housing check of your gutter vac on the head. They're going to check all the cord and the plug as well for you. All the internal wiring, so that's something I can't do. A motor check. And obviously one of my motors, I thought it burnt out, which they confirmed it had, but they replaced that for me. They're going to check your float valve in there is working right. All your inlet valves checked and cleaned. They're going to do a suction test as well for an internal clean using compressed air. Going to replace your filter, pat test, and return postage. But I drove down there, so obviously drove mine back. So that's quite a lot going on there. And like I say, they've got me power mixer working again, so I've got that back. So yeah, it's definitely a lot of stuff in there, and I think it's well worth it. And I'm definitely going to do it every year now prior to gutter season. I do get some cleans in the summer as well, but the gutter season where it goes mad. And it's going to take a beating because I do quite a few gutter cleans. Excuse me. I've just got a comment, so I've just seen to come in from Mark. It says, have you got spare filters for your gutter vac? I brought 3, so I always got a fresh filter. I've got a Skyvac Atom. It's been great, but I'm sure it's getting ready for new poles now. Yeah, Mark, when I brought all mine, I did just use the one filter. And then when I was reading up on it, they're suggesting that you always have another one. So I haven't got 3. I've just got the 2 filters, but I am going to buy another one. And I think slowly do something like every 4 months, maybe buy a filter. So you're getting 3 a year. Because they do say for mine anyway on the Skyvac 85, I think they're saying like change it every 6 months. But obviously we're not using it day in, day out. So I'll probably stretch it to a year. But when it looks really past it, you know we're going to get our money's worth out of these things. But as long as you clean them out, give them a wash with a bit of water and let them dry, they're fine. So yeah. And I also think if I'm on really, really busy days, and then what's going to happen is the weather's really rubbish like it normally is. This time of year, then you get all your comments from your customers saying, I knew my windows were going to get clean today because it's raining. I knew you was coming round. That happens to me a lot lately. But I also then think, because you've got a vax working hard and you're using it a lot and it's really wet up there in the gutters and there's a lot of soup up there probably to suck up sometimes, chances are you're going to get a wet filter. And And then, as you're probably aware, that when it's really wet, it has an effect on the suction power. So it's always handy to have a couple of spare ones as well. So you can just take that out, put a new one in, and then crack on to get the job done. Because once you're finished for the day, you can do all the clearing up, can't you, over the weekend or whatever, and to get it ready. So yeah, or it's a good idea to have spare filters, definitely. And if you've got a full week, say, on the gutters, you know what I mean? It'd be nice to have some filters, spare filters, to get it through the following day while the ones used on the first day, for example, are drying out. So you can keep rotating them and then fly through the week pretty well. So yeah, look after your filters. Definitely need them. I've not used the Atom, but I know that when I was looking at a gutter vac, that was something I was seriously looking at. I saw Ashley on A Macintosh when he was showing off, when he brought his Industrial 85, and I was just, that was my, yeah, I'd love one of them, but I'm never going to be able to afford one. But when I pulled all my back and stuff like that, and I just thought, right, I'm getting a loan, getting electric reels put in the van for me and my son, and then I'm going to get myself a gutter vac generator, the full lot, because it's hard work doing it off the ladders and moving a big heavy ladder about round the house. The last job, incidentally, I just did off the ladder. It was just easier because I was getting them leaf guards, having to take them out, put them back in. So I thought, if I'm up there on top of the ladder, what's the point of taking everything out, gutter vac it and put everything in? I might as well go up there, slide stuff along, put the leaf guards back in and work my way along. I like it like that. It's nice when the gutters allow you to do that. I can put my Pro Gutter tool in, slide it, no problem. I'm not fighting any tiles or any small gaps. And then you get right to the end of the gutter line, you just take the clip off and you just slide the whole lot off in bits into your bucket and then just put your end clip back on. So I found it easier than doing it with a gutter vac, but I love my gutter vac. But yeah, is it the Panther as well, which I suppose the equivalent of from GVS of the Atom, and is it the Sonic Spinner Clean do now? They are handy, the smaller ones, because you can lift them easily on top of roofs of extension buildings when your hose isn't long enough, so you have to get your gutter vac closer to what you're actually sorting out. Whereas something like the Predator or the Industrial 85, that's a bit hard to lug up a ladder sometimes, especially when you know the ladder's been probably pushing it a bit for safety wise, just because the way the ground is or something like that. So, but I love it. I love me 85. But there's no problems with having a small thing like the Atom, because it's still going to do the same job as what an Industrial 85 or Predator is, or the Nitro that Spinner Cleaner got out now. It just means you've got to empty it more times, that's all. But even with my big one, I have to stop and empty it because it gets full of... You can just tell by the suction it's going a bit and need to empty it. I mean, the first house I did today, God, we've emptied it 2 times, the gutter vac, and you got to think that holds 60 litres of gunk in there that it picks out, and I had to fill it out twice. Empty it out twice. It was all mainly pine needles, but I got through that all right. Not too bad, really, considering I haven't got the right nozzle for the pine needles. I keep forgetting to get rid of the comments first. Bear with me. So yeah, the service is definitely a go ahead, and it's always worth slowly. I'd say probably every 4 months, get another filter, like Mark was saying. It's always good to have spares, and I take my spare out with me when I do the job. I'd like to get another one, and then just keep your original ones going, I suppose, until they've really had it, because you want your gutter vac working at its best, really. It's no good fighting your gutter vac as well as the gutters and the tiles. So yeah, that's all I really wanted to cover today. What else can we go through? Okay, on their website, if I can press the button, the nozzles, or as they call them, end tools, because I had a couple of questions, so I thought I'd get back to them. I had this from Michelle and John, 123 from my live last week, I think. And it just seemed funny because he's saying, I'm not going to waffle on, but last week, motor burned out on the Skyvac. Fixed that with a little help from Dan at Spinner Clean, which is exactly what I did on Wednesday. And last week, my motor burnt out on me during the first job of the day, like I've said. And he's saying today, the customers, this is a couple of days, well, more than a couple of days ago, but today is at a customer's and Lars' gazebo took off with a gust of wind as he was cleaning and it smashed one of his carbon poles. That's like so bad luck that is, isn't it? You think of all the things you've probably done and then something like that happens. And it is annoying because you're going to spend that money out on getting a new motor fixed. And just like I did, but I got looked after there, to be honest. And you know, the poles as well, I can't remember how much they are, about 120 quid or something. But if you've got something like me, where I've got a bag of 8, you could probably get away with 3 or 4 for most jobs anyway. And then eventually get yourself a new pole. But yeah, it's frustrating, especially when every job you do, you're going to go through cleaning all the poles out and giving everything a good clean. So you're looking after your kit. And this is another one I had from PB Pro Clean. I thought I'll get onto this one. This is why I was going to get the ladders, and then I'll get back to Ched and Live Lounge Liquids as well and say your comments there. All right, so just please bear with me. From PB Pro Clean then, he's saying he hasn't got any ladders yet, but he's planning to get some. He's got a vac is great and he finds it difficult to get in the corners, which leaves a bit of gunk along the edges. He hasn't had any complaints yet. And he always shares a before and after photo, I suppose, or video. But do you have any tips for that? I do think of trying to hoover the gutter and then going over it with an old brush on my water-fed pole angled into the gutter. Do you think that's necessary or going over the top? I would definitely say it's going over the top, going with your water-fed pole. You definitely don't need to do that. And that's just going to take you a lot of time. We always think these things won't take long, but then you're often surprised when you look at your watch how long it's done. But it's good that you're thinking like that and the best of your customer. And I'm aware as well, doing before and after photos, you want it to look its best as well, so they're really happy with what you've done. I don't really do before and after photos. I used to, but I found most people weren't really that bothered, so I kind of stopped doing that. But I'm always wary though, like I said last week, that if I'm cleaning it, they might have some guys going to do a tile on the roof or a bit of lead flashing or something, and they'd have said, oh, my window cleaner come around and cleared me gutters. The last thing I want them to go down is then say, we hadn't done a good job. It'd be nice if you turn around and said, well, whoever it is that done your gutters, he's done a really good job. Plus, you might get them as a potential customer as well. So yeah, similar lines. But what I do is just do the absolute best I can to get everything out. I'll just try and go back to that picture for you. So for example, just above my head, the Skyvac Elite Long, the dirt breaker. You can see on the top, it's got like a 45-degree angle. So when you've got your poles, and I've got depends what gooseneck you're using, but I'm using the one that's like a 135-degree, I think it is. So it's diagonal. And you're going to get that in, and you just look at where the bottom of your end tool is, or your nozzle, so you can picture it in your head. So when that goes into the gutter, it's kind of flat. But you know when it's too flat, because you hear the pitching going high up from the gutter vac, because it sounds like it's got an obstruction in there. You want a little bit of gap sometimes, because you want the airflow to go up so all the stuff can get sucked up inside it. Because otherwise, if you keep it flat on the bottom of the gutter, all you're going to do is push all the rubbish that's in there along, and then sometimes you'll actually throw it over your gutter and make a mess on the floor, and then that's something else you've got to clean up. So as you probably all know anyway, you get your nozzle in there and you move it up and down slowly. Well, not slowly, but up and down. So it's lifting up and down to grab hold of the moss, the leaves, or whatever is in there and get sucked up inside, rather than you're just pushing it along, because that's flat on the bottom of the gutter and nothing's actually going up, and you can tell by the sound of your gutter vac, like we said. So what I tend to do is go between one clip and another clip on the gutter and bounce it along. Say if I'm going left to right, once I've done that sweep all the way along there, I then start doing the same coming back, and then I'll do 2 more passes of the same section of the gutter. But what I'll do is twist my poles and then try and get the end nozzle along the edge of the gutter where it's closest to the house. Sometimes that's going to be hard to do because you're going to feel the nozzle hitting and fighting against the tiles, but I'm just doing the best I can. And then once I got to the end, I'll push it down and repeat the same thing coming back onto myself to my start point again. And then I'll try and focus on getting the side of the nozzle against the edge of the gutter where it's facing me, so away from the house. So effectively I'm doing 3 passes and trying to get as much of that gutter done as I can without relying on trying to use a camera, because when you've got the camera on the end, it's going to get knocked about. But if you're working, because I don't always work on my own, I've got my son and my daughter with me, one of them will go along with the camera, or I'll get them to clean it, I'll have the camera or whatever. We work in 2s, so someone's looking along with the camera, guiding you on if there's little bits there or not. When you're on your own, obviously it's going to be a lot harder. So what I'd probably do is do a section of the house, and then before you move around with the gutter vac, you might as well check that area with your camera. So if you keep going backwards and forwards, and then once it's clean, you know, put it to bed, forget about that, and then move on. Sorry, excuse me. So hopefully PV Pro Clean, if you're watching, that's some kind of help. You just got to do the best you can. It depends on the roof tiles, the nozzles and what's in there really. But that's where having a camera to check in there is awesome really. And especially if you're working in 2s rather than just on your own, it's going to be a lot quicker as well. But I'd say there's definitely no need to go in there with your water fed brush and all that sort of stuff. And if there is a little bit of gunk that you can't get out, it's just a little bit of gunk you can't get out. You've got to draw the line somewhere. Okay, I'll just go to some questions so I can catch up on these. Oh, I'm obviously on the wrong one. Right, comment, sorry. Sorry, Jed. I was just coming up to yours, mate. We're saying, what type of filters does the 85 use? Good question. I'll try and find out for you. Just bear with me, mate. Just type of filters. Okay, when you go on their website, it will tell you, like for the orange one, it's a HEPA filter, and it tells you that it fits the 85, the 75 and the 78. So I've got the industrial 85. So hopefully that kind of answers the question. But you won't have a HEPA one. That's more for hoovering when you're doing the internal hoovering using their machines. I use these ones. So you've got another internal one for different, obviously, Skyvacs. Then you've got the one on the right. That's what it looks like. So it's white. But this one's for, 75, 78 and an 85 in the Interceptor. So that's the one I use. And you can see the £57.60p. That's the filters the 85s use. There's a bigger picture of it for you. I don't know if I press that. Well, I've just moved it. But it goes in here, and you've got the deflector plate, which probably covers, say, 3/4 of it, which does the job really in looking after it. So mine stayed dry all day today. I know it's not been peeing it down rain, but there was a lot of water in the gutters because of the rain the night before. And you've got this black plastic round cap, just goes in there, and then you twist it, and it just holds it in place. So that's it, really. That's what it probably looked like. Mine looks that colour, but it is clean. In between the little pleats, there is no stuck in dirt. I keep that all clean. Although mine will be today, but tomorrow I'm not working. So when I clean the van, I'm going to be getting my gutter vac out, cleaning it all through, cleaning my filters. I always, on jobs and between jobs, suck water through me poles and through the hose anyway. And I'll still just run it through with water again to put it away, so it's all tip top for the next time I use it. There you go, Ted. Hopefully that's sort of like helped you out there, buddy. Okay, Live Lounge, sorry, coming to you, mate. Live Lounge Liquids, I like the sound of that. Do you ever think that sometimes it's better, quicker, and more efficient to clean out by hand? Yes, the last one I did today, I did by hand, but that was mainly because I had the gutter guards in there. We did one before that had gutter guards. They're little plastic ones, not the hedgehogs. Because again, we worked with my son, it was a bungalow. He'd go along with the step ladder, take them out, place them on the roof. I'd follow behind, cleaning it out with the gutter vac. And then he was checking without me having to use the camera, guiding me to make sure it's done. And then once we got to the end, we just basically went back to the start with the step ladder, putting the gutter leaves and clipping it all back together in for the customer as well. And obviously from where he was, is we always clean the valleys out as well, especially when they're full. We would have done that by hand, but the reason why we didn't want to is because of all the water. So that's where I felt the gutter vac would have been good, because the last thing I wanted to do is while you're using your pro gutters and doing it by hand, it's all wet and you're going to get horrible dirty water running down the outside the gutters, or bits of moss coming over the edge, and I'm just dirtying it up, and then I've got to clean it because I can't leave it like that for the customer. I'd have to clean it all after myself. But yeah, there are some jobs we would not use the gutter vac. And even though I love my gutter vac, I still take my ladders. I still take all the stuff that I started cleaning out gutters with when I did it all by hand and using the trad pole with the pro gutter tools on there. I've got my ladder stay. I've got a ladder limb to hang the bucket off while I'm up there as well on the ladder. Still take all them with me. In fact, one of the jobs where I said about the gutter being really thin, like my little finger, at the front in the corner underneath one of the valleys, there's a big plant coming out there. My son was having a go, and then I just grabbed the Skyvac off him. I had a little go, and then I could tell him straight away. I said to him, right, this is not going to come out with the gutter vac. The reason is because you've got all the growth system of the roots, which will be in the valley. It'll be underneath the tiles, and then also you have a little in the corners, don't you, a bit of that lead flashing. We can probably just scrape your finger through. So it's all going to be underneath there, and the gutter vac ain't going to get it out. So you're just going to have to get the ladder, go up there, free it out with your hand and push it to one side, and either use the gutter vac then or just take it out, put it in the bucket, and that's what we did. So yeah, even though you've got all this good kit, sometimes the ladder for certain bits is just going to be quicker. And then some jobs, I suppose, you're going to feel that just doing it by hand is going to be quicker and easier, because you've still got to get your gutter vac out. My generator is 65 kilograms, so you're going to have to drag that out, and then it's setting it all up. Sometimes it's just easier to use your ladder. So yeah, sometimes I do it all by hand, mate. Most of the time, to be honest, it's a mixture of the two. I think when you've got ladders and a gutter vac, you've got no excuse not to get the job done on someone's house. Just come to you, Mark. I always bag it up and show the customers what come out of the gutters. Yeah, I like to do that. Again, some people just aren't interested, and some are generally surprised. Or you get the comments, don't you, there's a lot, and you're just thinking, actually, I've pulled a lot worse than that out of some gutters. But it's good to show them, I find, if they're interested. They can see what you've got out, what they're getting for their money, I think, and that reassurance that they used you to get something that they felt needed doing, and it obviously did. What I do is I tip mine into, those plastic builder's buckets. I've got 3 of those. And then basically when we empty it into those and try and get everything and show it everyone. That's why I've got more than one, because I found if you're going to fill it up again, you'd have to empty it in the bin to then fill it up, and then you're not showing everything you got out. So that's why I got 3 of these builder's buckets, and they just stack together. And I've got a smaller one as well, which I use for as a bucket of water for sucking it through the system when it starts to feel like it's clogged up. Right, Teddy saying Julia from GVS suggested that the open end should be at 90 degrees to the gutter, so it's just sucking up, and so no need to bob up. Right, I've got you. On the first job I did today, we were kind of doing that. he's got like a gutter, and then gutter on his conservatory, and at the back of the conservatory where it was leaning to a small extension of his outbuilding, which had a small pitched roof on it. And from one end, I could use me ladder with a 90-degree gooseneck on there, using about 3 or 4 poles. But then there was another turn around the other side of the building. So we used from the roof, and then basically, because of all the pine needles in there, I was using the end tool where it's saying like 90 degrees and it's at a 45-degree angle. So it's kind of scooping it, collecting it, and it was getting sucked up there. And I was using it that way, and it did work quite well. So yeah, I'd bob it up and down, and you just twist and turn your poles around, and you're listening to the sounds. And as long as it's picking stuff up and you can hear it rattling down into your vac, you know you're on a winner, aren't you, really? It is a good tip. I know Julia and Mark's got loads of videos he's done from years ago, hasn't he? Where he's doing tips with the gutter vac, and I get a lot of good tips from him. And it's all trial and error. So you just pick these things up, put it in place, try it, and then it goes into your golf bag, doesn't it, really? Okay, I see the Panther has filter for dry gutters and foam for wet. Yeah, it's like a blue foam, isn't it, I think? I thought that was a good idea, but because I've got the Industrial 85, I know some people take the filters, the ones I show you, Ched, off, so it doesn't get wet, but then you're not protecting your motor that well, or the head. So you're at risk at blowing the motors and damaging the head unit, basically, and I ain't going to pay for a new head. So I keep my filters on all the time, which is what Spinner Clean with their system suggest you do. When it is wet, it will still work, but obviously when it's really saturated, you start to notice, that it's not going to have its high suction power. And that's where, when it's really bad, you're just going to have to take it off and put a new filter in and crack on. Or sometimes it's because the filter itself and the pleats has got filled up, so you need to brush it all out. The beauty of me working with a team is you could put a new filter on, and then the old one, while he's still working, someone's trying to clean that one up so it's usable again. Live lounge liquids, yeah, I'm not saying gutter vacs aren't useful. They're amazing. Above conservatories, they are. But yeah, you still need definitely to do the good old-fashioned way with your ladders for the really tough to get bits. And some jobs, it's just, you will know through experience whether it's going to be quicker just to use the ladder and bounce around compared to getting all your gutter vac system out, especially when the property's a bit hard for you to get your gutter vac through places, or the generator's not going to fit somewhere, and I've got a 25 meter extension lead. If all that's not good enough, as you know, sometimes you're going to just have to use your ladder for the bits definitely you can't reach. But I still learn well using me ladder before I got all this stuff. But when you come up to them awkward bits where you're cutting your fingers open on the flipping roof tiles, or your pro gutter tool's not really fitting in, and you're fighting and dragging, and you're like, oh my God, gutter vac's so amazing. But when I first got my gutter vac, and you're doing them jobs, you find out actually the gutter vac's not as amazing what you're thinking in your head. There's still tricks you've got to learn to make those sort of jobs a bit better. But thankfully get all the different tools, crevice tools, nozzles and all that lot. Yeah, blue foam. Yeah, I've seen it when you watch YouTube videos, people putting it on, but I couldn't remember what it was for. But at least it's explained that one, mate. Dust will kill the motor, so filter's best. Yeah, which is why Spinner Clean say keep it on even when it's wet. I get why people don't take it out. Glad it's not just me where you're getting grazed knuckles. I had to laugh because I heard my son swearing because he's going ow, and I thought, yes. It's like with me son and daughter, you try and get them to learn and have a go at use, because I like everyone to be able to do everyone's job. We're in the van, so you can think of how to help someone else sometimes without asking. You can just see what needs doing. And plus, I think it makes it different for them. You get the gutter vac out, everyone wants to play with that, don't they? And impress people who are watching you. Oh no, streaming stopped, so I'm going to continue recording. Sorry, guys, and then I'll put this out on the replay. The internet's not the best, that's why I was a bit late starting. But yeah, I try and get my son and daughter to use the gutter vac as much as possible. When you've got a lot in a day, you're also looking at time, see if you can do it or not. So when you've got jobs that seem pretty easy, and not the problems you're going to get with the tiles and on the gutters and stuff like that, I tend to let them have a go and try and learn things out themselves. Or when there's something I've come across difficult, I'm explaining to what I'm doing, why I'm thinking it, how I've come to that, and my way I'm going to try to get around it. And I'll point out if this doesn't work, the ladder's going to come off, and try and get them to experience it, really, because it's good for them. And then when you get to these tougher jobs, it's good to let them experience it, because sometimes there's a lot of them standing around watching you because you're a bit slower than what you normally are because of all these problems you come with. But when they get to experience it, get all that behind them, get their confidence up, and then hopefully I can have a chin wag with a customer then, and have a good laugh and a good sort of chat. So, yeah. Right. As I've lost people on the live because my internet's rubbish, I'm not going to be able to chat to people, obviously, which is unfortunate because I kind of enjoy that. So I suppose in conclusion then, excuse me, is basically getting your gutter vac, wherever you brought it from, whatever one you've got. I would definitely say it's worth paying the money to have it serviced. And like Ched said earlier, don't forget your generator. They'll offer that as well. Because I'm not mechanically minded. I read the instructions, and a lot of the time you haven't got the time to do it because you're busy doing this, that, and the other. So yeah, it's definitely worth getting these done and taking these on. So I'm definitely going to do it every year now. Oh, something else I brought. I can move all this along for you. Is I brought a bag to put it in because I never had done before. And then I got this, a wire reinforced vacuum hose. I had the original one, which is plastic. And obviously I saw GVS doing these, then Spinner Clean did them. But they do it like this, blue or black. And I got the black ones. And I got 7.5 meters. So it's 50 to 51 millimeter diameter. Like it says, wire reinforced hose. And they do different lengths. It's not letting me open this up on here. But if I think it's 5 meters, 7.5, so I'm sure it'll be 10, and then 12 meters are the 4 different lengths they do. I've gone with the 7.5, and I believe they do one for the Atom as well. But yeah, it's definitely good. It's about a third lighter than the original one that I had, where it's light blue plastic, which can kink. This one is a lot harder to make it kink. It didn't kink on me today. And you can tell the difference on the weight when using the poles, that it's a lot lighter. So it was a pleasure to use. And you also notice when it starts to get heavy, so you need to suck a bucket of water through it as well. So yeah, I'm really happy with that purchase. And I got a nice bag to put it in. So I make sure I don't bend it and kink it in places where I shouldn't do. Look after it. So yeah, really good. Got a service. Like a boy in a sweet shop, so I come away with these items as well. So I was really happy on Wednesday, and I enjoyed using me new lease of life gutter vac with the little upgrades I got to it as well. The gutter camera that's stopped working. I did take that in. It's not the monitor, the actual camera on top. Just try and come to the one I've got is older. They don't do it anymore. So I've brought this system here where it's saying £336, the real-time inspection camera. They do another one for £576 where it's recordable. But because I've never used the recordable feature on my one to show customers and save a bit of money, I've gone for this one. I'll get that later next week turn up. I've just had to make do with the one I've got. With me, what's happened is the back of the camera, I'll see if I can get a picture of it. There's a little black aerial that comes out. It goes underneath this white shield. Don't know if you can see it at the back of the camera. That's come loose, so it's probably soldered on somewhere, and because it's loose, we don't always get a good picture, and it's a bit of a pain. So I was hoping they could just resell me the camera, but the camera I've got silver, and it was only these cameras obviously talk to the newer monitors, like this one, not the old one I've got. So basically I've got to buy a complete new system, and we definitely rely on this to check the gutters after we've cleaned them so that we're happy as well, because we like to make sure we've done a good job, like you all do. So I brought that, and compared to the old one I've got, it's in colour and the picture looks better. I was thinking of using an action camera, but then I've got to use my phone, and like I said, if I'm using the gutter vac, I want the kids to be able to pick up, so it's completely standalone, and they can use this without having to keep pestering me for my phone, for example, because it's married up with the action camera. So that's why I've gone for the inspection system rather than an action camera, really. But I know a lot of people use action cameras and get on fine with them. But that's why I've done it. It's just on there, and then my phone's for me, or in my pocket, or when I'm speaking to customers and asking when I'm the next round to do the windows, that sort of thing. I ain't got to wait for the kids to stop checking gutters with it. All right, that's me done then. Sorry we lost out. The internet went mad on me. That's beyond my control. Unfortunately, it's where I live, in a village. Internet's bad. So sorry about that, guys. I was enjoying chatting with you. And Liquid's Lounge Live, Liquid Lounge, Liquid sounds good. Take care, guys.